Hi Heidi, and any other Compass people, or maybe someone beyond that maybe sees this, but it's good enough. We'll see. You never really quite know. I was in for a doctor visit and treatment session, probably in June, maybe. I don't know, June or July. I could probably find out by looking at the date on the video, but I was especially. I was working on starting to work on a lesson about love in an improved kind of set of distinctions about love and how we should see love and its basis for righteousness. And we'll talk in just a moment about the basis for righteousness. And I was taken care of by Kimberly, who I saw fairly often. Maybe 3 or 4 times, maybe in a row, I got to talk with her. And so I was really feeling grateful and admiring of people at Compass and nurses especially. And I usually sit kind of facing the nurses station, watching. I do like to watch you guys work, but I usually sit there close and this time I was over by the other wall, on the south wall. And so I was just sitting there watching the room basically and seeing nurses working, and I remember being really impressed a couple times with Terry and one thing especially about Terry and the conversations she had with people, and it's really quite loving and good, and thinking about the loving and caring but the general theme of how your work works and how you work it. And so I was really being especially careful to note and to esteem people that were in the room working. And so after I came home, I made a video, and it has to do with the distinction about love, and I think we'll talk about it now. And I think what I'm going to start out with, because it'll seem weird to bring the subject of righteousness into it suddenly later. Let me start with the subject of righteousness. And not necessarily, it's not a Christian message at all, but then those who are familiar with Christ things, the Christian message things, would probably recognize the famous words from the Beatitudes. Well, there's a number of things in there that are really good. It's told us that they came and they asked Jesus about what the greatest law is. And really, to me, it seems that they were asking him, what law do we keep if we want to be righteous? And so it is about righteousness and what righteousness is. And Jesus said to them, you will love your neighbor as yourself. It's not a law against anything, and even really a law demanding anything, except it's just that what will happen in order to maintain and to keep and maintain your righteousness is love your neighbor as yourself. So loving your neighbor as yourself is the basis of righteousness. And what does that mean to me as a nurse or some kind of a worker at this place? The thing is that so if that love's a feeling, if Jesus is saying you need to feel loving feelings about all of your neighbors all of the time, that makes no sense, because you can't do that. People aren't wired that way, and they don't have the capacity for it, and there's it would take all of their attention all of the time to even be able to try and do that. So it's not what it means. It doesn't mean feel for 1 billion people. But you can measure the value of 1 billion people as full. You can measure each of them as being individually fully valued. So love isn't not so. Love is a measure of value. It's a measure of fullness of value. I love all of the people that I know and who come around me because I measure them as being fully valuable as me. And what that ends up doing for you when you measure people as valuable as yourself, you'll do the same kind of things and have the same kind of attitudes and and determination for some security in certain ways. You'll expect that not being harmed, but also being able to be well and full and enjoy your life and those kinds of things. You want that for yourself, and you also want that for other people. It doesn't mean that you take on the duty that you have to give them everything that you have and try to get them to have that too, because then after that, then they have it and you don't, and there's no difference. It's not really about that kind of thing, but it is about valuing them. And what I clumsily tried to describe in the other video, I wanted to present love as, and when I put my arm up, I'd get confused and say weird things. But this, if you picture this like an FM frequency, a carrier wave. What they do with FM radio is they've learned to have waves carry information, and a certain wave will have certain information loaded onto it, and other waves will have other information loaded onto it, and you can pick between the wavelengths or whatever and find the information that's there. But what I wanted to say is that love is the measure of the full value of measuring your value full in my love for you is what gives me a foundational place to build all other things about our potential relationship on. It makes everything safe and ready. It's kind of like a catalyst or a foundation place. And then when you esteem people that way, you may have certain individuals that you begin to build more esteem for, because you know them and you have reasons to understand their extra value to you, and they can become extra valuable to you because you can love two people, two strangers. One of them becomes friend to you and begins to put things in, available into your life, and that one takes on an extra value. Doesn't mean that you devalue the other one who isn't your friend. You keep the valuation of them all as full, and you want them to be well and happy and safe, and it just in general as a general measuring, and the measuring is I use this. I keep it around in case I do this, so I might as well use it now. These are the tools that a tool like this is what you use to measure the value of yourself compared to others. You're equal. You have a full valuation of yourself, and you take care of yourself, and you want yourself to be safe. That's right. And you also have a full valuation of others, and you'd like for them to be safe and taken care of and not harmed. So in that way, you are equals with everyone that you'd want them to be. And that what that means is that you're loving them. You're valuing and esteeming their value. You are esteeming their value fully. And then, once again, just really quickly, in case I didn't touch on it well enough, then if you get to know them and you have other things that you add, maybe potentially great numbers of things that you would add to esteem them. You're not going to love the lady that checks you out at the grocery store like you love your wife, because you're going to have more things added to there. But what I want to really talk to you about is what I see as the heroism of doing things that return or maintain the security of people's lives. Even though you have learned a lot of things and you have a profession and a job that you go to and you get paid, what is really going on is that you are showing in your intercession, which is what priesthood is. I'm a priesthood trainer, actually, in a Christian apostolic kind of a way, so it's easy for me to go off and start talking about that. But you are interceding between someone who you measure of full value and something that wants to destroy them, and you get in between that and you fight for them. And so your protecting of them is a full valuation of them, and is a full, therefore is full righteousness, and is definitely peace maintaining. But it's even more, you're looking for the righteousness and peace of that individual to be returned to them by standing between them and the enemy that's trying to kill them. And I find that greatly heroic, and I find it to be perfect love and perfect priesthood. Priesthood what we often would presume spiritual work, but not necessarily spiritual work. It could be a day-to-day work of refilling people to the value of what they've lost. Priests are judges, and judges, their job is to give back to someone who's been damaged the full value of what they lost. And it's the same thing with someone who is interceding between myself and what wants to kill me, and is going to stand with me in that they're interceding, they're coming in between me and an enemy to keep me safe. And it's because of evaluation of me. So in your occupation, that you are fully valuing people and valuing their life and their security, and working to restore that to them, shows that the basis of your work is love. And it is also showing that since you are loving your neighbor as your equal, I didn't even say that. I can't believe I didn't say that. It's so important. If you read my book, you'll kind of get the idea about how important it is. The equality of the value, the not necessarily you and me together and tied together in some sort of way, but you and me both fully valued and fully safe and secure. So securing the well-being of other people is loving them, and is loving them in this kind of to the degree that this point of Jesus talking about what righteousness is, it is righteousness to restore peace, and to restore righteousness and peace to people is an actual act of righteousness that is going to be based in your love and your esteem for them, and it causes you to willingly bring about actions that make their well-being full. Minutes. Boy, I get to this point sometimes that I don't know, because I think, well, I could do this, but then if I stop, it might be a really tight package and it might be complete, but then what if I stop and I left something out? And you're like, wait a second, no. What should I do? Should I add another 8 minutes of your life to rest your attention to me from you in order to try and do another section? I think I'll stop and go again later after I hear this and decide if more is needed. So basically, having presented that much, I may have left something off. It doesn't seem as dramatic as it used to. But idealist, like my idealist personality, the repetition seems to take some of the power out of things and the sincerity out of them. So repeating things seems to sap it of its power for people like me. So I hope it's good. But my idea is that I think the message well presented, and maybe with some help from someone in the nursing profession with experience, that I think the message presented well could possibly be extremely valuable to, well, I don't know, hundreds of thousands or millions of nurses, however many there are. It could be good and important enough that they all should hear about it. Because what I'm really saying is that, don't worry about righteousness when you spend your time loving and caring for and restoring the security and well-being of people. Your righteousness is fine. It's the best you can do, and it's enough. And the idea that you're somehow in trouble with God because of what vague ideas, you think there's no-nos that you might have done before, and God's holding a grudge. Your righteousness day to day makes that stuff fade away. You shouldn't think that anything's wrong with your righteousness unless someone's accusing you. And if you just vaguely think that God is always accusing you, then we should talk about why you think that and why you shouldn't think that, because he's not. Redemption is a refilling of value of people, body, spirit, and soul, basically, in every way that they can be refilled from being harmed. And when you work in righteousness to restore people who have been harmed to fullness, you are most righteous, and there's no reason to think less of yourself than anyone else, and there's no reason for you to expect that someone else would rightly look at you. Even God himself would rightly look at you. and think less of you because of what? Because of what? Some kind of not good enough at something? It's not what it's measured by. It's measured by whether you love your neighbor as yourself or as your equal. If you value them with the same valuation that you value yourself, and you work to secure them, then that's absolutely perfectly fulfilled, and that is righteousness. And I would say it's perfect priesthood, and it certainly is love, because the estimation of a value is the love. The feelings and the other things that come around, and the interactions, associations, and familiarities and all that stuff is based on that solid carrier wave signal of that I measure you fully and you measure me fully. And that's what my video with Kimberly was about. So how can we tell that we love each other before we really know anything about each other? The way we can tell is that we both know that the other one values us fully. Because I can tell you value me and you can tell I value you. We know that we love each other. We don't even have to think about it, but it works fine that way, because everything that we do will now be not harmful and not breaking of peace, but will be the other. It'll be when there's an availability to help restore righteousness or peace or some kind of well-being. Then we take advantage of that because we're fully ready to, because our valuation of you is full and we want the best for you. And my valuation for you is that way. My valuation for the nurses is probably, we probably shouldn't talk about that. I'm so in love with nurses in general and specific. Man, you guys are something. I love you. It's the best part of my month to come in and sit there and have you stab me and put liquids in me because I enjoy you so much. Gaining that kind of expertise in demonstrating love and restoring people, the restoration, the redemption of it. It's beautiful. Well, it's secular though, Joe. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not a spiritual thing that people can't master and manage. It's secular, it's a non-sacred thing to mechanically measure people properly and give them the full value, and then therefore treat them in the way that is love and righteousness regarding them. And you maintain your righteousness perfectly. I shouldn't make my messages this clear and good because you might not want to read my 300-page book. But anyway, I love you guys, and I also feel feelings of love for you. But recognize that this is the thing. I'm sorry. I always almost leave this part out. If you worry that you don't love people well enough because you don't feel feelings as much as you think you should, if you're having, especially if I would expect that if you're a nurse who works with people whose lives are short in the future compared, that there's a lot of people whose lives, their life expectancy is short, and you lose them and everything. If you are worried that you don't feel enough about that your love is imperfect because it's not feelings, then recognize that, hey, that's okay. Because it's not the case, because it's not feelings, it's measures of their value. And if feelings are optional, kind of like an elective. You can feel or you not feel, but it doesn't change your love, because your love isn't about how you feel about them or how religious you are or how much you know about God or how many scriptures you can throw at the idea or whatever. All of the different kinds of religious views, they don't count, because what really counts is that you've seen their value full. You love your neighbor as your equal. Value them as your equal, and you protect them, and you will save their lives as often as you can. So whether you feel feelings for them should never affect how you feel about how well you're doing, because it's not the feelings that matter. The feelings are enjoyable, but they're not the thing that we use to identify how well we're doing. Is not the feeling. How much you feel about me doesn't identify anything about how well you love me, because you love me, because you esteem me fully, and you will intercede to save my life. How you feel about it is just, it's like a side dish. It's not the point. And this is important, because people will condemn themselves a lot of times because they don't think they feel enough for people. I'm so busy and I'm so tired and I have so many things going on, I don't feel enough for people. Don't worry, it's not about your feelings, it's about how you measure them. If you always value them and never diminish them in your valuation, then how you feel about them is just extra. I'm not saying it's minor. It can be very important, and it is very important how we enjoy our lives, but it's not the turning point for where love and righteousness either. It's nothing about righteousness and peacemaking and the things that I'm talking about here, the valuation of people. None of it hinges on your feelings. It all hinges on your measurement of value. So thank you for listening. It's 20 minutes, 21 almost probably. I love you.